Mama's Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make a no-knead crusty bread that includes cheddar cheese and jalapeno peppers. This is made from the no-knead crusty bread dough that we made a few days ago. That dough has been in the refrigerator now for 4 days, and I'm going to show you today how to take a piece of that dough, incorporate some cheddar cheese and some jalapenos, and make this most delicious bread. Get started shaping our loaf. The first thing you're going to do is have a floured surface, and then of course you always have to put some flour on your fingers. And I just sprinkle a little bit of flour over the top of the dough before I grab that out of there. And I'm just going to grab a hunk of this that's about the size of a grapefruit. And during the course of the time that the bread is in the refrigerator, it will rise and fall, and that's what it's supposed to do. It will also acquire a little more of a tangier flavor, sort of like a sourdough. So let's sprinkle some flour on top of it. So I just take my fingertips and just push it down just a little bit. And then I flip it over and I put a little flour on the other side. This is a sticky dough, like most doughs are sticky. Today we're going to add the cheese and the jalapenos. And I would love to have a fresh jalapeno pepper, but I don't. So what I have is some pickled jalapeno rings, which I have removed the center and I patted them dry. And we're going to fold those in there, and we're going to fold this cheese in. And the amount of cheese that we use is about 4 ounces. I just cut an 8-ounce block of cheese in half, and then I cut it into these size cubes. And I sprinkle just a little bit of flour over the cheese as well. I just lightly coat it because it helps to suspend the cheese throughout the bread dough. I just love the flavor of the cheddar and the jalapeno together. And so we're just going to work this into the dough. It's just going to take a minute or so. And sometimes I just push the cheese in there. And just fold it over onto itself again. And you see it's sticking to my fingers, so I'm going to add just a little more flour here. Fold it over onto itself again. I have a few little pieces of cheese getting away from me here. And now I'm going to fold it some more. Just kind of push that in there with the palm of your hand. A little bit of difficulty getting all that incorporated. So just get some more dough, sprinkle some more flour on there, and try to knead that in there. I love to wear black when I'm working in the kitchen. Someone asked me, why do you always wear black when you're making bread dough? And I was like, because when I have flour all over my shirt, I know it's a good day. And flour all over my floor. It's been a good day in the kitchen. So there's a nice little round. If you want to try to get it into a loaf, we can just sort of roll it. I just roll it back and forth. I need to get a few more of these pieces of cheese rolled up in there. And I just kind of push on it like I'm kneading it just a little. I think we're going to end up with a log today. Just shape it the best you can. And I'm not going to do too much more with it right now. I do want those pieces of cheese to get wrapped up in the dough side of that bread, but you want to get it all incorporated into the dough the best you can. So I'm happy with this this shape, and I'm going to transfer it onto a baking sheet lined with parchment, and we'll be back in an hour to put her in the oven. So this is our bread dough after it's risen for almost 2 hours. It normally rises for about an hour. It all depends on temperature, and this dough came out of the refrigerator, so it took a little longer today. It rose outward instead of upward, like our loaf that we did the other day. And I covered it with a piece of greased cling wrap. So what we're going to do is score it and then bake it in the 450-degree oven. Let me show you how we score it. You can use a razor blade, you can use a sharp knife. Usually with a loaf, you want to make 3 1/4 to 1/2 inch cuts in the dough. So just take a sharp knife, and I just cut the bread in a diagonal shape. And the reason we want to score the bread is that once this yeast hits that hot air in the oven, it's going to release gas, and we don't want it to kind of like puff out in one spot. So this just makes it release that gas a little more easily from the dough, and it makes a nicer looking loaf of bread. We can also brush this loaf of bread with some butter. I don't normally do this, but I thought we would just show how that makes the crust get a little bit shinier and a little bit crustier. So our oven is at 450 degrees, and we're going to bake this loaf of bread for 25 to 30 minutes. And I'm going to do one extra step today, which will make the bread a little crustier, and that is to add some water, some hot water. I just microwaved this for a minute or so. It's about a cup of water, and we're going to pour that into a metal pan, and this metal pan will sit on the rack below the rack that the bread is sitting on. So let's go ahead and put her in the oven and see you back in 25 or 30 minutes. Okay, I think our loaf of bread is ready. And look at that beautiful loaf of bread. You see some of the cheese that wasn't fully incorporated, leaked out of the dough a little, made this little crusty crisp. Yummy. So that's where we made our little slits in the dough, and it's browned up very nicely. It cooked 25 minutes. We put some butter on the crust. It's very, very crusty. Some people ask me, how do I know that bread is ready to come out of the oven? So there's a couple of ways that we do that. One is you take a thermometer and you insert it into the middle of the bread, and when it registers 190 degrees, the bread is done. What I typically do is thump the bottom of the bread. So when you take this loaf up and thump it, that thump, that hollow thump, that means that loaf of bread is done. So let's let this loaf of bread cool. You really want to let your loaf of bread cool completely before you slice into it, as hard as that is to resist. That way the inside doesn't get gummy, is what we say. But we're going to let this loaf of bread cool for a couple of hours, and then we'll slice into it.